Snoopy being the golfer works the best of all. I think one of the last ones, Charlie Brown says to Snoopy, now, just before you are about to shoot, what do you think? And Snoopy says, I think to myself, I haven't hit a good shot all day. What makes me think I'm going to hit one now?
Interview with Ann Liguori is brought to you by Super Shuttle, the nation's leader in shared ride and airport ground transportation, now serving Manhattan and Long Island. And by America Online, so easy to use, no wonder it's #1. To receive free software, call 1-800-4ONLINE. And by Online Design, the revolutionary marketing services company.
Why is America on America Online?
Email's great.
It's fast, it's responsive.
I just click and I'm there.
I can't even use a copy machine and I can do it.
I love to get instant messages.
They have parental controls, and that's a good thing.
We've spent over $1 billion to create a state-of-the-art high-speed network. And now with 56K, connections are faster than ever.
It's the internet and a whole lot more.
No complicated setup. Just a simple phone line is all you need.
I sent my grandma my school picture.
There's no better way to keep in touch.
America Online, so easy to use, no wonder it's #1.
Hi, I'm Ann Liguori, and my guest is Charles Schulz. Sparky.
Sparky.
Can I call you Sparky?
By all means. Nobody who knows me ever calls me Charles. It's always Sparky.
I know that. I know that. And boy, Sparky, 5 Emmy Awards, 2 Peabodys, the Cartoonist Hall of Fame, the Walk of Fame, the list, it goes on and on.
It's kind of fun.
It's kind of fun. It's
especially for cartoonists. Normally, people don't know we even exist. So it's kind of nice to be recognized now and then for something.
But 47 years ago, when you first started all of this, did you think it would get this successful?
Well, most of these things, of course, I didn't even know were around. All I wanted to do was draw a good comic strip and have it probably be recognized as good as Crazy Cat, because Crazy Cat has always been considered the greatest comic strip that was ever drawn. And so I just wanted to do something that was good.
How did you get started with this?
How did I get started? I used to draw all different kinds of things. I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to do some kind of comic strip. But little by little, I discovered that when I drew these little tiny kids saying outrageous things, this was the kind of cartoon that editors seemed to like. So I kept drawing them. And I would get on the train from St. Paul, Minnesota, early in the morning, ride down to Chicago, make the rounds of the syndicates, get rejected, and go home and start all over again. I never became discouraged because I could feel myself getting better all the time. And one day I got a letter from United Features in New York saying, we kind of like this, would you like to come to New York and talk about it? And so that's how it all started in 1950. We began with 7 newspapers in October of 1950, and now they tell me we're in very close to 3,000, which is an all-time record. No newspaper feature has ever been in that many newspapers.
What amazes me is, again, you've done this every single day for 47 some years. You took 5 weeks off when you turned 75.
Yes.
And that was what, your first vacation ever?
Which didn't work out at all. I still had to come to the studio every day just to answer mail and receive visitors. We had all sorts of other things going, and the ice show was going on at my ice arena, so it really wasn't a vacation.
How do you get inspired every single day and come up with the ideas? I mean, you say sometimes you're dry, but I mean, every single day you have to get an idea. That creativity has to constantly be there.
I think it's because you're doing what you want to do. I don't think inspiration has anything to do with it. And it's one of those things you simply learn how to do. And you do it because this is what you would rather do than anything else. Now, I think one of the most foolish things people say to me, and it took me a long time really to realize it, is when they discover that you have to work ahead. They always say, well, gee, why don't you just work real hard, get about a month ahead, and then you could take that time off. And I suddenly realized after a long time that you don't work all of your life to get to do something so you don't have to do it. People say, well, gee, then you could go traveling or something. I think a person who wanted to be a traveler could never be a comic strip artist, because this is where I belong. This is where I'm the most happy, is sitting at the drawing board. Now, this doesn't mean that it's, you know, just a riot all the time. It's so much fun because it's hard work. But I do this for the same reason that some people paint watercolors, other people play the piano, and other people race motorcycles. You know, it's what I do.
In golf, do the shots go dry after a while? Does the imagination just not work sometimes when you're thinking of shot making and strategy? And
I suppose there's no real comparison. I think when you start talking about golf, you're talking about all sorts of phases of it, and obviously the golf that most of us play is not at all the sort of golf that the players on the tour play. There's an enormous difference in all sports, I believe, between the professional and the amateur. You just play catch with a baseball player. The ball comes to you faster than you ever thought. I've played tennis with Billie Jean King. The ball comes to you quicker than you ever thought it would come, and that sort of thing. And I've played golf with Johnny Miller, and I can still remember the first time I ever saw Sam Snead hit a golf ball. I can still hear the sound of that driver hitting the ball. It was a sound that I had never heard before. Golf is like women. You know, golf leads us on. You hit a perfect drive, you hit the 3-wood right up there near the green, and you're thinking birdie all the way up there, and then you chunk the approach shot and you get a bogey or a double bogey. So you've been led on and then you're turned down again. I suppose that's the fascination of the game.
Come on along, Marcy. We'll go over to the country club and get jobs as caddies. We'll make a fortune.
I can't tell a par from a birdie, sir.
Those are bowling terms, Marcy. Don't embarrass me.
would you pick storylines up from perhaps experiences that you have gone through or that your friends have gone through, or do they just come to you?
Well, none of the characters is patterned after me, but almost all of the things that happen to the characters happen because of either something that has happened recently to me or just the memory of things. I'm the sort of person that never forgets a slight. You know, if you slight me, Ann, I'll get you sooner or later.
I'll try not to, I promise. I thought when you said you never forgot a slight, I thought you were going to say, I never forgot a slice.
Snoopy said once, he says, I have an educated slice, but it only went to the 3rd grade.
I love it. We'll be back with Charles Schulz right after this.
Coming up. You're the dog.
A Passion for Golf, Celebrity Musings About the Game is an exciting new book that features interviews that I've done with some of the most fascinating personalities in sports, Hollywood, music, and business, talking about their careers, their lives, and their passion for golf. You'll enjoy reading football legend Jim Brown's controversial opinion on Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan. Kevin Costner and Joe Pesci's inner thoughts on their careers and games. Learn how 29 of the most successful people in the world deal with the highs and lows of their golf game. From low handicappers like Vince Gill and Dan Quayle to newcomers Amy Grant and Sugar Ray Leonard, plus my thoughts and stories on each personality. To order A Passion for Golf, celebrity musings about the game, call 1-800-637-3557. Or if you'd like an autographed copy, visit our website, www.annlagorie.com. A Passion for Golf, celebrity musings about the game in bookstores now. We're back with Charles Schulz, Sparky, who started playing golf when you were 15, started drawing when you were what, a toddler?
I have a distinct memory of being in kindergarten and lying on the floor with a huge sheet of white butcher-like paper, and we were told just to draw something, and I was drawing somebody shoveling snow because we lived in Minnesota, and this real nice kindergarten teacher standing behind me looking down and saying, "Someday, Charles, you're going to be an artist." Well, it wasn't quite true, but so I've been drawing all my life. Yeah, I've always liked to draw, and I've always liked cartoons. I've always liked comic strips. I could draw a great Popeye and Mickey Mouse and all that kind of thing.
When did the golf passion start?
I had always wanted to play. When I was about 8 years old, I used to go to the Saturday afternoon matinees with my mother, and in those days they had short subjects. And I used to see the Bobby Jones short subjects, and I was totally fascinated by Bobby and the way he hit the ball and the things that he said. So as the years went on, and way on up, years and years later, I used to tell people about these Bobby Jones shorts that I had seen when I was a kid. Nobody ever knew what I was talking about. Now, of course, they revived them, and everybody has seen how marvelous they were. But then I would buy a cheap little golf club at the dime store and go out on the playgrounds and hit rocks until I broke the club. And I always wanted to play, but we never had a chance. There was no one ever to show us how to play, and the golf courses were too far away, until finally when I was about 15, some of us kids started talking about golf, and we borrowed a couple of old miserable wooden shafted sets of clubs, got on our bicycles at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we rode all the way up to Highland Park Golf Course in St. Paul because we wanted to be on the course before anybody else was there. And we played, and I shot 156. Never got the ball off the ground because I had a big old-fashioned driver with a heavy face, and I thought we were just supposed to keep hitting it. Never got the ball off the ground. So the next week we decided we'd do it again because we had so much fun, and it only cost us 35 cents to play. And that day I thought, today I'm going to do better. So I shot 165. But I'm proud to say that 4 months later I had my first 79. Little by little I began to accumulate some clubs. I bought a $2.50 Brassy, which was my first golf club. I had that for years. I bought a 5-iron and a 7-iron for $3 a piece. And little by little, I accumulated a full set of clubs, but none of them matched. And I can still remember why some clubs worked and others didn't, because none of them really matched. There were no pitching wedges those days, so my highest club was a 9-iron.
We're going to be out here all day. Hey, what was that?
Someone behind us wants to play through.
Who is it, sir?
He's the crabbiest guy in the club. He thinks Mrs. Bartley and Mrs. Nelson play too slow. I think he hates women golfers.
Is he really the crabbiest player in the club?
Stand back, Marcy. The ladies are going to let him play through.
I just want to see who he is.
When did golf become part of your comic strips?
It takes a long time to establish a format for some of these things so it really works. Years and years ago I had Lucy playing, but that didn't work. That wasn't proper. Little tiny kids like these weren't fitted right for the game of golf. But finally, as the years went on, and I had drawn a lot of golf cartoons, I always found that golf was easy to cartoon the same way as baseball. Any sport that has an intermission of some kind in between the action works. Hockey and basketball are impossible for cartooning because nothing ever stops, you see. It's those walks up to the mound and the conversation with Charlie Brown.
Okay, Austin, this is the pitcher's mound. This is where you'll stand when you pitch the ball to the batters.
How do I get down?
Snoopy being the golfer works the best of all, and I really like that.
Why is that?
Well, it's because of these conversations that are inspired really by my own experiences of playing. I think one of the last ones, Charlie Brown says to Snoopy, now, just before you are about to shoot, what do you think? And Snoopy says, I think to myself, I haven't hit a good shot all day. What makes me think I'm going to hit one now? And
It's true.
some of the things, too, that I say to my own friends when we're playing, we come to a par 4 or par 5, and it's got white out-of-bounds stakes down the left-hand side. And I remember saying to my friend Larry James one day, as we come to the last hole, and we're playing for $1 on this last hole, and I say to Larry, Larry, have you ever noticed this time of year how the sun kind of glints off those out-of-bounds stakes, you know? And I have Charlie Brown saying the same thing then to Snoopy. And Snoopy says, caddy shouldn't say anything. So, you know, that's just the way it works.
This is the only book so far that has only golf published strips in here. An educated slice. And one of these, I have to read some of these. Here it says, Snoopy's carrying Lucy's sign, and it says Lucy plus 42, and underneath it says but cute.
But cute, yeah.
And then you have Snoopy playing, and it says Snoopy plus 52, but he has a nice sweater.
Yeah. I think those were ones that were in the Crosby program books years ago. The different cartoonists around the country would contribute them to the program.
And here's one that says, where's my caddy? Oh, here you are. And it says, if it gets too heavy, we can always take out the tees.
Yeah. I don't know how Woodstock can carry that bag that way.
Oh, it's amazing. We'll be back with Charles Schulz right after this.
Sports Interview with Ann Liguori is brought to you by Super Shuttle, the nation's leader in shared ride and airport ground transportation, now serving Manhattan and Long Island. And now this week's Super Shuttle moment.
When you played in the same event as Sam Snead and Ben Hogan, what was that like?
I was on the practice tee. This is one of my favorite stories. They didn't have a range where you could just have a bucket of balls and hit them. You had to have your caddy go out there and stand while you dumped your old bag of practice balls. Now, I remember when Sam Snead came up and he dumped out his bag of practice balls, they were all brand new Wilsons. Mine were the old balls that were no longer useful for playing. So my caddy was out there and I hit some out to him, and he finally came in. And I heard this kind of rumbling behind me, and I turned around, and here was Sam Snead coming up behind me with about 100 people following him, and this was my hero, because I always thought Sam Snead was the greatest golfer there was.
Sure.
And he comes walking up to me, and he says in his little hillbilly drawl, you know, are you through here? And I said, yes. And I walked away, and that was my conversation with
That was
Sam
it?
Snead. That was it, yeah.
You imitate him so perfectly. You thought there's going to be a real inspirational discussion, I guess.
I wouldn't dare talk to him.
Why is America on America Online?
Email's great.
It's fast, it's responsive.
I just click and I'm there.
I can't even use a copy machine, and I can do it.
I love to get instant messages.
They have parental controls.
Tons of free software.
It's the internet and a whole lot more.
We've spent over $1 billion to create a state-of-the-art high-speed network. And now with 56K, connections are faster than ever.
Encyclopedias, dictionaries.
Research. I sent my grandma my school picture.
There's no better way to keep in touch.
America Online, so easy to use, no wonder it's #1.
Charles, I feel honored. Here I am in your office, where you work every day on this most famous strip. Can you draw me something?
Yeah, it'd be kind of nice to have you standing here every day, wouldn't it?
Aren't you sweet?
Well, I suppose eventually, if Snoopy is lucky, he's got to get on the green. So maybe we can see what he looks like when he's putting.
Even Snoopy has to get on the green.
Yeah.
And then sink the putt to boot.
That's
Not
hard
an
to
easy
do.
task. But Snoopy, being a good golfer, certainly should have no problem, right?
Yeah. I remember one time he was playing in a tournament. He was leading the tournament and coming down the last hole, and then they told him dogs weren't allowed on the course, which was kind of a bad way to finish.
Oh, so what did he do?
Well, he had to quit. He lost the tournament.
Oh, my goodness. I'm a dog lover, so I certainly could never tolerate that attitude. I can't believe how fast you do this.
Well, got to get it done. Now,
And he's smiling, of course.
he's smiling because we have to put the hole here. That means he's almost within gimme range. Now, do you think you'd give him this putt?
I would give him the putt. I
wouldn't,
promise you that.
No, I wouldn't give him anything.
Why?
No.
Charles!
No.
Not even Snoopy?
No, let him work for it.
No gimme putt for Snoopy?
No.
You're too much of a purist. That's wonderful. Oh my goodness.
If you were on a concert tour in far off places, would you call me every day?
No, I'd never call you.
You'd probably write, though, wouldn't you?
No, I'd never write to you.
But if you happened to meet someone in a hotel lobby whom we both knew, you'd probably tell him to say hello to me when he got back home, wouldn't you?
Who knows? I might.
I knew you'd miss me.
We're back with Charles Schulz, who is a 13 handicap. At one point, you were
I
better.
think maybe a 3 right after the war or something when we played a lot. But
And you caddied as well.
I discovered a friend of mine came up to me one day and he said, if we sign up and get to be caddies at Highland Park, we get to play free on Tuesday mornings. So that's why I became a caddy, so I could play free on Tuesday mornings.
Did you learn a lot caddying?
We were good caddies because we were all pretty good golfers ourselves. The only thing we learned is that you don't make any money. Our fees were 75 cents, and the most we ever got was $1. We never got more than $1.
They didn't tip well back then, I guess, huh?
A quarter, yeah. And if you're lucky, you could get in 36 holes, say, on a Saturday or a Sunday, but that's all we ever got.
That caddying was hard work, sir.
Well, we each made $1, Marcy. That's not too bad.
Hold on there, girls. What about your old caddy master? I'll just take half of that.
Everywhere you go on this golf course, you run into a hazard. Half?
What kind of golfer is Snoopy?
I think Snoopy is probably pretty good. He can't hit the ball very far, and he probably has a lot of trouble with the overlapping grip, you know, when you don't have enough fingers. But he's very earnest, very dedicated, and a lot of the things that have happened to me, or that did happen, of course, go into Snoopy because of the memories. Like another time, I was called to the first tee, and they said Charles Schulz on the first tee, you know, announced my name. I stepped up, went to tee up the ball because my hand was shaking a little bit. The ball fell off the tee. I got the ball back on the tee, but then I dropped the driver. And I went to pick up the driver, but I couldn't because I was standing on it. So those are the things that make for good cartoon ideas, because it's the bad things that happen to other people that are funny. They're not so funny when they happen to you, but it's like all of the things. This is what cartooning really is. Cartooning is not happiness and wonderful things. Happiness is great. I wish we could all be happy, but happiness is not funny. It's when somebody else gets hit in the head with a golf ball, or somebody gets mad and throws all the clubs in the lake. That's what's funny.
And you would never have anybody draw it for you?
No, never. No. And in my contract, when I retire or die, the strip ends. My daughter Amy said, we don't want anybody else drawing Dad's strip. So all my children said, once Dad quits, then that's the end of the Peanut strip. That's the way it should be. Things don't have to go on forever, you know.
Why are you so passionate about golf?
I think golf is probably the best sport ever invented, because you never conquer it, and it can be played on every imaginable different type of course. Plus the fact you don't have to beat somebody else. I was thinking about that. You know, the tennis players are so jealous of golf, and they're always trying to downgrade golf and try to prove that tennis is a better game. It's not a better game. Tennis can be played only with somebody who is reasonably the same quality as you are, and you have to beat somebody all the time. You always have to win. Golf, you don't have to win, or you don't have to beat somebody. 4 guys can go out to play, or 4 women, or mixed people, and it doesn't matter who plays at what level. You can still all play together and laugh and have a good time.
Thank you so much.
My
I
pleasure.
really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure.